Okay, when you're ready, Chairman.
Thank you. I'm getting some interference. So if people can go on mute who aren't, that would be appreciated. Welcome everyone to this meeting of the Harpenden Town Council Planning Committee being held on Tuesday, the 11th of January at 7:30 p.m. I will start with apologies for absence. I'm assuming we haven't had any, Heather, as we're all here?
No, correct. Yes, we're all present and correct.
Perfect. Any declarations of interest from councillors? I can't see any. As ever, if you spot one during the meeting, do give me a wave and we'll get that declared at the appropriate moment. Minutes of the meeting of the Planning Committee held on the 21st of December 2021. Are we happy to take those as a true record? All in favour?
Yes, that's agreed.
Perfect. Item 4, public questions in accordance with Standing Orders 22 and 23. Have we received any, Heather?
No, none have been received.
None received. Letters of objection. I know we've had 2 that were circulated this afternoon to councillors, which we've noted and will consider at the appropriate moment. Any others, Heather, that we should be aware of?
No, none have been received other than those 2 that were forwarded earlier today.
Perfect. Because we have members of the public present for item 7, I will take item 7 before item 6. So I now move to the Conservation Area Review Working Party. Heather, do you want to say some words on this, or shall I hand over the floor to Councillor Butterworth?
I can say a few words, but I mean, in a sense, it's just kind of really referencing the report that was forwarded to you all as part of the agenda on page 29. So ultimately, this is an opportunity for the Town Council to actually formalise a working party made up of a collection of local interested parties who have been working in sort of the background into looking to updating the Harpenden Conservation Area, in addition to the local heritage list, which essentially is the list of locally listed buildings in Harpenden, and then also working forward with the possibility of having exploring the establishment of a conservation area advisory committee in the future once the initial work has actually been carried out of this working party. So just kind of going into a little bit further detail, that officers have been liaising with some local residents who are very keen to review the Harpenden Conservation Area statement and see this as a perfect opportunity for the Town Council to assist them in their ultimate goals of updating their local heritage list and reviewing of the local conservation area. So the last conservation area review was actually carried out in 2008, which was the formulation of a character statement by the District Council. But it has been recognised that this is long overdue. So this is a perfect opportunity for the Town Council to be able to assist with the leading on this. And also that, if I can just move forward, ultimately, the resource implications for this working party is that it will be covered by existing officer staffing, with the opportunity in the future for potential partnership working, which may require funding, but that obviously will come at a later point in time should that need arise. So I don't know if Councillor Butterworth would like to add some additional information to that to help support the recommendation of officers to support this working party.
Yes, I would very much like to do that, Chair, if you're happy for me to do so.
Very happy.
And we have 2 people who are already involved in this who are on the teams this evening. I'm quite interested in planning, obviously, and I've both done a number of call-ins over the 2 and a bit years as a St Albans councillor, and I've been on the Plans North committee since May, June. But I'm conscious there are some gaps in the system. One part that works very well, if I may say so, and it sounds rather sycophantic, but it does work well, is the role of the Harpenden Town Council Planning Committee, this committee. And although I'm not on the committee, I do read the reports that come out, both in connection with call-ins and problems that come up on the Plans North. Now that bit works well in isolation, but I'm conscious there are some gaps. as Heather has said, the conservation area, what it is, where it is, what it covers, is somewhat out of date. Also, the locally listed buildings list is very much out of date. That became obvious recently in one particular property in Kirkdale Road, where those involved managed to get it on the local list and make a difference. Now, Hardman Town Council itself, it's not the planning authority, it's statutory consultee, can't fill all these gaps because it doesn't have the resources. But I don't see that as just a negative. I think it's a positive in one respect, because there are members of the public who are ready, willing and able to contribute, which is great. And the whole system works better if it's planning authorities and Albans Town Council and public engagement, because it's wrong if it's just the local government bodies in a vacuum, as it were. So I see the engagement of the Harpenden Society, Harpenden Local History Society, and as individuals who are keen on this as a great plus. I can't claim credit for this for the idea of the working party. I sort of came into it as it was getting getting together, and I'm delighted that if Harpenden Town Council will sponsor it and adopt it as in effect one of its working parties, because I think that way we can have real synergy and really improve the way we're dealing with planning applications as they come up, because the conservation area is up to date and because the local listed buildings are up to date. And we might work, as this hints, at a future date to having a conservation area advisory committee, which itself could be a statutory consultee. Some local authorities are doing this. And as a sort of civic society, focusing on the buildings, the fabric, not trying to duplicate or take the place of the Harpenden Society, but be very much more specialised. So I think there's a good job of work to do. It can't be done overnight. I'm sure there are resource issues, and I'm sure it will not work without the dedication of individuals. And if Harpenden Town Council is providing the infrastructure and the official tag that the working party is part of the town council, then I think that would be great for the future, and we can then hopefully preserve some of the buildings. We've lost some of the good ones, but we preserve some of our best. So, members, I hope you approve this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Butterworth. Do any councillors wish to speak on this item, or should we move straight to resolutions? I can't see any hands, in which case I'll ask if we can take all three resolutions together. All in favour?
Yes, that's unanimously agreed.
Perfect. So we've agreed all of those recommendations. Members of the public who were here for that item are welcome to stay for the exciting work that we have for the rest of the evening, but you're also welcome to depart if you wish.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, fellow councillors. Well done. Okay, I'll drop out as well if I may. Having said I'm very interested in planning, I do have other things on, but thanks very much. Okay.
Have a
Bye-bye,
good evening.
Roger.
Thank you, bye.
Okay, so we'll move on to move back to item 6, which is applications registered in the weeks ending 17th, 24th and 31st of December. Okay, and the first one, if I can find it. Sorry, give me 2 seconds. Pardon?
Page 13.
Yes, no, I just got there as you said that. 5/2021 3433 land rear of 1 to 5 Common Lane. Your observations on this one, Heather?
Yeah, bear me a second and I shall share my lovely screen view. My street view, I should say. Okay, right, bear with me just a second. Right, okay, is that all visible on your screen?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
Okay,
visible, thank you.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. So, okay, so land routes 1 to 5 Common Lane. What I'll do is I'll read through my observations, then I shall move through the images in front of you. So the application site is at the rear of the gardens of numbers 1 to 5 Batford Road, which are extremely long, therefore retaining ample amenity space for those properties, and borders number 40 Batford Road. So I'll just move on to that one there so you can see it. Access to the site is off Batford Road, past an existing garage presumed for use of the occupiers of number 1 Common Lane. Batford Road slopes upwards towards Common Lane. The proposed new single-storey 2-bedroom dwelling is of a basic flat roof design with roof lines split with 2 sloping parallel elements. The property is to be partially set into the ground to reduce the visual effect on the street scene and to aid in preventing overlooking. Windows are mainly obscured from overlooking by fencing or hedging. 2 parking spaces are proposed, not conservation area. Details of proposed trees and landscapings have not been provided. However, reference is made that trees will be planted inside the southeast fence as boundary fence as part of the planning conditions. So I've said no objections, subject to no adverse impact on the neighbouring properties. Policy 70 of the district plan refers. So you can see here that we've got these 2 garages as depicted on the screen here, but the garage to the left has already been demolished and essentially will be utilising the access to the proposed property. So the X on the spot essentially marks the site for the proposed dwelling. Here is the footprint or the block plan of the proposed dwelling sitting within that plot of land. So you can see there is sort of pretty much ample ample amenity space for the properties in Common Lane. This is the images of the sort of flat roof design. And this shows the street scene where it is quite well hidden behind the existing fence line on the street scene. And that is it.
Thank you, Heather. Okay. I can only see the PowerPoint. There we go. Okay. Councillor Drake.
Thank you, Chair. I have a couple of comments on this. Firstly, the actual design, it seems to be out of keeping with the rest of the road, being flat roofs there, and I think it'll look very odd indeed. I do welcome a new single-storey property in the area, but it will look trivial. I'm also found this looks to be completely obscured behind the fence line, so I'm not sure what the view would be from those properties, particularly since it slopes downhill. So I would question about that. The other thing is about the trees. I'm not sure whether there's been any indication that trees are to be removed or not, but well, in that case, I have no real objection then to the comment that might be additional trees planted, but I just wanted to make sure that was the case.
Yeah, no, the garden is essentially just, well, there's a greenhouse there and there's other sort of flower beds and planting, but there are no trees to be removed.
Thank you, Councillor Drake. Councillor Turnbull.
Thanks, Chair. Can we go to slide 3?
Yeah.
Which is the plan. And if you look at the top of the middle of the top of the plan, you've got number 40, and then you've got the new proposed development. Now that's up against that boundary, and I don't know what's, you can go back and look at the previous picture, but it doesn't really tell you very much. What's beyond the other side of that boundary? Are we not resistant to houses being built in what is effectively backland right up against someone else's back garden like that? You see the point I'm making?
What, to number 40?
No, but we don't even know what. Well, if you look at number 7 on the plan.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that Head 7's garden goes right back up there alongside the new development. Do we have any concerns about building effectively overlooking someone's back garden like that?
I'm not sure that there are actually windows on that side, Nigel. Because that was one of my sort of initial thoughts. The windows, I believe, actually kind of go. They aren't in that back well, I lie in a sense. Actually, you can see here from the screen I'm showing. So the view facing the gardens is literally just that one single, that one single window.
Okay, my point therefore still stands. I always thought we tended to be resistant to people putting buildings up at the bottom of back gardens next to someone else's back garden. Or I got it wrong?
I suppose there is certainly more than a metre retained between the boundary and the back of the property. So it's not directly on the boundary line, but you are correct that this obviously is backland development, which is not already there.
Yeah. Okay, it's a pity they didn't make the house sort of straight onto Batford Road rather than at an angle like that. It wouldn't have had that complication. Lined it up so it faced Batford Road, and you'd have a proper back garden facing a back garden. But no, I'm not too bothered about it. I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I would hazard a guess, though I obviously don't know, that whoever owns that second garage didn't want to lose their garage, because otherwise, I think, as you say, you would line it up with.
Yeah. Okay.
Councillor Farmer.
I think I was going to say I share Councillor Drake's concerns about the appearance. Although this property is located land to the rear of Common Lane, in practice it's on Batford Road. Batford Road is, well, some of it's mixed, but a very large proportion of it is Edwardian and Victorian. A lot of it is conservation area, and I'm not sure if they're Edwardian or Victorian. On the side of the road where these houses, or this house will be, are older houses right the way up, and what's being planned is going to be totally out of keeping. There are some modern houses the other side of the road, but they've all got roofs, and obviously it's opposite the flexible care facility. But I think I am very concerned about the flat roofs, which I think looks like they're just putting the flat roof as head is just above the parapet of the fence, which basically is just going to look like a very large shed behind a fence. And I really don't think that is in keeping with the area.
Thank you, Councillor Farmer. Any other comments? Councillor Liver.
Thank you. Can I just confirm parking? How many parking spaces are there at the moment, and how many are we going to be losing?
So I don't think we're losing any parking spaces at all. So obviously we're gaining. Let me just double check. We are gaining. So we're gaining. Just see.
So the two garages are being knocked down.
So no, just one garage has gone already. It's gone already. So from the image that I had, the garage is already, the left-hand garage has already gone. So one garage is being retained, because I believe that they are in the ownership of 1 to 3 Batford Road, or 1 to 3 Common Lane. So we aren't losing. We may be, well, potentially maybe losing one parking space. That's if I'm guessing if it's currently being used, the vacant space where the garage is, or if the garage was demolished already with a view to this development happening in the future.
I mean, you don't necessarily need a garage to have a parking space, do you? I mean, I suppose in terms of traffic along Common Lane with parking for Catherine Warrington and bus parking, a lot of the houses along Batford Road do not have garages, so it's just going to add more parking either onto Common Lane or onto Batford Road, really. Especially when Common Lane is such an issue at the moment because of Catherine Warrington. Really, that's my point.
Thank you, Councillor Liver. Just on the plan, Heather, where are the 2 spaces? Because I couldn't identify 2.
Okay, I will show you. So bear with me a second to do my Wizzy Wow bit. Okay, so we've got parking space here.
I see. So
yeah,
they're out the
just-
front. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, so there's there and there. So if I go back to here, so you can see this garage here is already gone. So they've got a parking space there and a parking space there. So they've got 2 parking spaces, which you can see here. If I just show, is there and there.
Yeah. No, I'd not clocked those.
And then this garage here, I believe, is in the ownership of either number 3 or number 1 or one of the other occupiers of Common Lane, and that's being retained, which you can see, I think, in this street view here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's existing garage there.
Okay. Any other comments from councillors on this one? Councillor Turnbull.
Thank you, Chair. Based on other councillors' views and also my own feeling, I would suggest or propose that we actually reject this, particularly on the ground that it's a flat roof building, which is totally out of keeping with the street scene, blah, blah, blah.
You've rather preempted what I was about to suggest, Nigel. So given the strength of feeling as ever, I will put options to a vote and see which one gets a majority. So I think councillors are concerned about potential parking conflicts given the loss of the existing garage. I might be wrong on that one, but I think I got that from what's been said. I think we also are concerned about the effect on the street scene and the character of the area. If anyone has anything else that I've missed, do let me know. Councillor Paul.
Make sure I'm unmuted. What about the living conditions of the new occupants of that? It was half set into the hillside, isn't it? They don't have much of, I know it comes into planning.
In terms of amenity?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, outlook, you might say, from inside the house. I mean,
I think outlook is amenity, isn't it, Heather?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah,
potential effect on amenity of future occupiers of whatever this dwelling ends up being called. I think we can add that in, certainly. So I will put refuse to a vote first. So all who would be in favour of recommending refusal on the basis we've outlined.
Okay, so that's 5.
That's a majority. So we'll go with recommendation of refusal on those bases. Is bases a word? I think I've made that up. On the basis of those reasons.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, on to 5/2021 3435 at 9 West Way. Your observations on this one?
Yeah, bear me a second. I'll just get this street views back up again. Okay, so number 9 West Way. The property is a characterful property with interesting features to the frontage, which are being retained as part of this proposal. The proposal looks to extend the existing ground floor rear element to fill the width of the property, build over this and create accommodation in the roof space. The only change visible from the street scene is the addition of 3 Velux roof windows. Number 7 West Way has been substantially increased in size from the street view picture and fills a larger footprint than this proposal. There is an access road to Walnut Close along the right-hand side of the property, therefore removing any impact to properties on that side. Landscaping shown in the street view image has largely been removed to provide parking for 2 cars for 4/5 bedroom property. No tree works are proposed. And I say consider express concern that there appears to be insufficient parking provision provided on the site for the proposed number of bedrooms. Policies 40 and 72 for the district plan refers. So you can see here the outline of the block plan here, where essentially they're looking to block off the back. So here you've got the existing and the proposed. So we've got the existing at the top of the screen and then the proposed at the bottom of the screen. So the frontage, as you can see, is really not changing dramatically, just the addition of the 3 Velux windows. But you can see here at the rear of the property, we've got this extension, which is filling the footprint of the property at the rear. And then again here you can see essentially how the footprint is changing to the rear. So you've got the existing ground floor plan, and then you've got the proposed. So I can sort of kind of flick between the two here. So you can see that essentially they're filling in the back to make it more of a sort of a block footprint. And then upstairs on the first floor level, they're building over the new extension to the bottom. And then you've got the proposed loft plan, which is adding the additional family room stroke playroom and an additional bedroom stroke office, hence why in my wording I've said 4/5 bedroom property, because quite clearly the family room stroke playroom could be included as an additional bedroom. And that's it.
Thank you. Heather, any comments on this one? Councillor Paul.
Can you show us where the parking is? I assume they're not garages at the rear of the garden. They're 2 parking spaces.
No, so right, hang on a moment. I will.
If you're deficient in car parking and the 2 you've got you can't use, there's a problem.
So what we've got at the front is basically just I don't know if they actually show.
I think this one does.
Oh yes, they do. Sorry, I tell a lie. Parking, yeah, sorry, it's here. I knew there was somewhere. So they've literally just got 2 parking spaces for essentially a 5-bedroom property.
Oh, right. I mean that's paving, it's parking, isn't it? Yeah.
That parking space on the right looks a bit tight, but it exists. Yeah. Councillor Turnbull.
Thanks, Chair. If in fact you look at the plan proposed, there's the children's, there's a office stroke bedroom on the top floor. There's also a family playroom on the top floor, and on the proposed first floor there's an office. So if you work at that, there could be 7 bedrooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, which to me puts the parking question even more into question or into play.
Yes, I think it's clear that there's definitely not enough parking. Any further comments from all the councillors have gone very small on my screen at the moment because the screen view is on. So if I miss
Right,
you,
there we go. Apologies.
There we go.
Okay. There's so many buttons I have to click to turn it on and turn it off, and
I keep losing my mouse when I'm trying to unmute, so I keep clicking things on the wrong screen. Any other comments from councillors on this one? I can't see any. Are we minded to go at the recommendation as set out? All in favour?
Yep, okay, that's unanimous.
Okay, on to 5/2021 3123 20 Manland Way. Your observations on this one, Heather?
Okay, yeah. Oh, apologies. Okay, so number 20 Manland Way. Proposal site is located opposite Sir John Law School on the entrance to Barton Close and is a semi-detached property with the neighbouring property currently undergoing building work. Proposal looks to add ground floor and first floor extensions, with the bulk of the extensions to the side of Barton Close and over the existing flat roof ground floor element. Proposal appears to add an additional bedroom to total 4/5 on the plot. There's parking provision for 2 cars off street at the rear of the property at the end of the garden. Due to the location of the property and the neighbouring property also carrying out works, there appears to be limited effect on the neighbouring property. Proposals appear to be in keeping with the surrounding area and with the host property. And I have said consider express concern that there is insufficient off-street parking provision for the proposed number of bedrooms in the property. Policies 40 and 72.4 of the district plan refers. So you can see here the host property, which then depicts here the ground floor proposed and the existing. So the existing is over on the right hand side, and then on the left we've got the proposed, where you can see a little sort of outline of the footprint of the existing with the new. So it's quite a substantial extension that they're proposing. And then again, you can see here the first floor proposed and existing, showing with the 45-degree angle taken into consideration with the neighbouring property. So in a sense, really, the extensions are fine and in keeping, but the main issue is the number of bedrooms, or sorry, yeah, the number of bedrooms to the parking allocation that they have available to them. So you can see here at the back of the property where it says existing garage and the parking space, that is the only parking provision that they actually have on site for the property.
Any comments from councillors? Councillor Farmer.
I was only going to observe that on that location, the parking issues is exacerbated by the parking restrictions on Manland Way because of the school.
Yes, no, I think I think that's a fair comment. Any other comments from councillors? I can't see any. I mean, they're getting a lot of house on that plot, but I think it's just about okay. Well, not obviously with the parking, but in terms of the, you know what I mean.
I think what kind of slightly assists is the fact that the neighbouring property has already undergoing substantial extensions, and with no property to the right hand side, it alleviates some of the issue, I think, with that.
Yeah, I think on balance that bit's probably okay. Councillor Turnbull.
Just to confirm Rosemary's comment, I happened to cycle around there yesterday when the school was coming out, and it was almost like Oxford Circus. You could hardly move for cars, etc., and kids crossing the road. So yeah, I think parking's a problem.
Would councillors be minded towards a stronger recommendation? I'll put a stronger recommendation of refusal to a vote, and then we'll see if that has a majority support or not. So would councillors, for the same reasons as outlined, be minded towards recommendation of refusal? All in favour? No.
No hands.
In that case, I will put express concern to a vote. All in favour for that one?
Okay, so an option that I can suggest, would you like me to strengthen the wording relating to the fact that it is so close to the school and that it is part of the part of the control parking zone in Harpenden? Yeah, would you like me to include that additional wording?
Yes, I think that would be good.
Okay.
Okay. I'll just let Heather.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm ready.
Perfect. 5/2021 3372 4 Lyndhurst Close. Your observations on this one, Heather?
Okay. Okay, so number 4, Lyndhurst Close. The property is part of a row of terraced houses with the main house and a subservient element to one side, which is mirrored by the neighbouring property. The ground floor extensions are largely over the footprint of the demolished conservatory and across the width of the property in line with the existing property footprint. The side utility stroke WC elements are at ground floor level is to be demolished, creating a walkway with 1 metre gap down the boundary, which currently does not exist. A further bedroom is added to the first floor over the new extension to the rear, which is stepped in to avoid the 45-degree angle and reduce the impact on the neighbouring properties. The proposal appears to be in keeping with the street scene and enhances the host property. It appears that number 3 Lyndhurst Close have carried out developments to their property in a similar style. The road does not have off-street parking provision, therefore no changes are proposed to the parking, no tree work, consider no objection. So you can see here in this image, the property to the left-hand side has already extended quite dramatically, both with a dormer and also a flat roof extension at the back. So you can see here the existing property and then the existing proposal or existing footprint, and then you've got the proposed footprint over on the right hand side. So you can see pretty much mirrors what the neighbouring property has already done. And then we've got here the information showing the bedroom extension over the ground floor additional element over the kitchen. And then at the this is the front and the rear elevation of the proposal. So you can see here along the left hand side there is actually now a walkway, which you can see here in the existing. There was no means of getting through to the back of the property at all. That has now been included in this image just here. There is actually a walkway through to the back garden, and that is it.
Thank you. Heather, any councillors want to comment on this one? I can't see any. In that case, we mind to go the recommendation is set out. All in favour?
Okay, agreed.
5/2021 3444 does not meet the criteria, neither does 3256. So on to, sorry, I've lost my place. There we go. 5/2021 3472 at Tanglewood 34B Shepherd's Way. Your observations on this one, Heather?
Okay, so this, councillors, if I can draw your attention to the two letters or the two emails of objection that we received earlier on today, which, having read them, ultimately really covers off everything that I've said in my comments, that there is really very, very little change to what was already refused on this site. But anyway, we'll go through the details. Okay. Tanglewood. The proposal is largely the same as the refuse scheme, apart from the following small changes. Plot 2 has had the study and the ensuite side element removed, although all other elements appear to be the same, including the bulk, scale, roof height, etc. Plots 3 and 4 have been reduced in footprint with the less dominant roof form, although still appear to be quite large for the plot and appear to differ little from the refuse scheme. The landscaping and tree works appear to be the same, with 5 individual trees and 3 groups of trees / hedging to be removed, along with other pollarding and trimming works proposed to facilitate the proposal. No details are provided for new trees or landscaping on the site. So I say essentially consider recommend refusal despite changes being made from the previously refused scheme. These amendments are not sufficient to satisfy the committee's concerns and therefore recommend refusal regarding the size, scale and massing on the site. The proposal is considered to be an overdevelopment which would have a detrimental impact on neighbouring properties, and concerns are expressed with regards to the loss of trees and screening which would impact on the surrounding properties and the lack of detailed information provided regarding protecting the privacy and amenity of those dwellings. And then I quote the various policies for the neighbourhood plan and the district plan. So you can see here we've got the previous and the current proposals for plots 1 and 2, which is pretty much a case of try and spot the difference, which really is ultimately this. So this is what was on the previously refused scheme, which has now gone. And apart from that, that is all that is differs on plots 1 and 2. And then plots 3 and 4, you can see that the only change ultimately here is that we have changed the roof form. So we have gone from this sort of kind of, well, a very tall roof form to a much sort of flatter, longer roof form, but the height of it pretty much remains the same. The bulk and the massing of it remains the same. Yes, and ultimately those are the only changes. You can see here on the previous and the proposed layout and the landscaping that there is no changes whatsoever to the trees. There's no additional screening or trees added, and there are no real ultimate details on how they are looking to protect various trees on the site also. And that's that.
Thank you, Heather. I mean, it must be noted, I know other councillors will note this as well, but the second attempt still doesn't have any tree details, and I just think that it's completely unacceptable. So on that basis, I'm very in favour of the resolution, but we will discuss as ever. Councillor Farmer, I think you're up first.
Well, I was merely going to say that, leaving aside the fact they still haven't said anything about the trees, which is unacceptable. It's, as Heather said, very very little change has been made. I mean, it's sort of tinkered around the edges and hasn't addressed has not addressed the issues of why it was refused.
Any other councillors want to say anything on this one? I think I can't see any, unless that was a hand from Councillor Drake, but I don't think it was. Okay, in that case, are we minded to go with the recommendation as set out? All in favour?
Yes, that's all agreed.
Thank you. On to 5/2021 3476 at 24. Oh, it doesn't meet the criteria. Sorry. Neither does 3479. So we're actually on to 5/2021 3486 at Osprey House 4 Cross Paths. Your observations on this one, Heather?
Okay, that's fine. This is a relatively simple one. It will not misbehave. Here we go. Okay, so Osprey Close, also in fact Osprey House in Cross Paths. The proposal mirrors a previously withdrawn application which shows amendments to the width of the new vehicle crossover following a consultation response submitted by Hertfordshire Highways against the previous application and appears to meet the requirements of policy 34 of the district plan. So I've said consider no objection. So yeah, the only reason why, looking back into sort of the previous reasons why it was actually withdrawn, related to some observations that Highways put forward that they have addressed in this particular proposal here. You can see here that I think that what they've done is they've slightly relocated the crossover so that it's not actually positioned quite so sharply on the bend, which, yeah, in my view, actually addresses the previous reasons why they withdrew it. We have no objection to the previous proposals either.
Thank you, Heather. Anyone want to say anything on this one? I can't see anything. So all in favour of the recommendation?
Okay, agreed.
Perfect. This, I believe, is the one we had last time, is it?
Correct. Yes, that's it. So we don't actually need to look at this one.
Okay, perfect. So just to note, for the sake of completeness, 5/2021 3252 was considered at the previous meeting, and therefore we won't be considering it again this evening. 5/2021 3309 at Foxwood Lodge. Your observations on this one?
Yeah. Moving beyond Wensley Close. Okay, so Foxwood Lodge on Harpenden Road. The property sits on an isolated, spacious plot bordering the Harpenden Common Golf Club course. The proposals are proportionate and in keeping with the host property in terms of design and materials. The bulk of extensions are at ground floor level to the rear, with an additional bedroom added at the first floor level above a section of the ground floor extension. The only visible change from the frontage is to the side by the addition of the ground floor extension. However, it is possible this will be screened by trees. Despite there being a number of trees and soft landscaping on the site, there are no proposals for these to be removed. Consider no objection. So if you can recall, this is sort of on your way on the left-hand side as you're travelling out of Harpenden in the direction of St Albans. So you can see here a very large, ample, spacious plot. So here you've got the existing rear elevation and the proposed, which they're extending to the rear at ground floor level and also at first floor level. It's sort of in the middle section, and then there is the extension to the side there, which has essentially been highlighted by my lovely wiggly red lines. And that's really all that I can show you on that one.
Just to clarify, Heather, that bit at the side that will be seen from the front is being screened by the hedging on the left-hand side of the property, isn't it?
Pretty sure, yeah, pretty sure. I mean, I can just sort of kind of show you again. It's tricky because obviously the images that they provide are bland, stark, but based on the looking at it, and it will actually be hidden behind this existing screening that's here, because it goes to the side of the property So this here is the front.
Yeah.
Okay, and then it's added on at the back here, and that screening goes, well, essentially beyond sort of kind of from here. So it's actually potentially going to be hidden at the rear. I can't guarantee that that's the case, but it's not to the frontage. It's going to be set further back.
Thank you, Heather. I think it would be worth us including some language in there about subject to. I'm not sure street scene is the right thing to use in a context in which it's basically the only house on the street, but whatever the wording that you would recommend is in terms of street scene on this, and also about potential damage to trees and things like that, just in case there is something that we've not quite got. Councillor Turnbull.
Thanks, Chair. There's one question. There's a footpath that goes down along the side of the fence from the main road back through the trees at the back onto the golf course. Does that have any implications on the planning issue or not?
No, because it will not be on their land.
Okay, as long as it'll be quite close to the path. That's no complicated. The extension will be quite close to the path. There's no complication there.
There was no mention within the planning application of a footpath. No. I mean, let's look again just to be sure.
I can guarantee there is a footpath because I've walked down it several times.
I think does the footpath go from over here, Nigel?
No, other side through the gate.
Through here?
Yeah, there's a footpath.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, no, I don't believe so. So when it goes through, sort of, does it go outside here?
Down there. Yeah.
No, because if you look, the extensions are happening purely to the house itself. Yeah.
I just wondered if there was any consultation required because there was a footpath.
I don't think.
Other than that, I've no objection or no comments.
I think the only reason why they'd need to consult is if the footpath is going to need to be moved.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, if there's going to be a change to the footpath or it's going to be temporarily closed and a consultation has to happen. But if the footpath is not being impacted, which if you're saying it comes along here, then no, there was in the papers, there was no mention of a footpath at all.
Okay. She's quite a friendly person that lives in the house, by the way, because I've often talked to her because she's got horses at the back there in the stables.
Well, the stable's being demolished, so I don't know whether or not there's been a change of hands.
Yeah, I missed that. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I digress.
Any other comments from councillors? Councillor Paul.
Yeah, I was just looking, Metropolitan Greenbelt, it must be MGB, isn't it?
I would have thought so.
If you look at policy 1, it doesn't really mention extensions. Even though there's only certain uses for building in the Greenbelt, but that's built already.
Yeah, well, it's not an additional, is it? It's just an addition to the.
It's not a new development.
No.
Okay, I've looked at the policy. I couldn't see anything we proposed it on. It does make a slight difference.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Any further comments on this one? I can't see any. In that case, with some additional language about subject to no negative impact on the street scene and no damage to trees. I can't remember what that precise wording we normally use for that one, Heather, is, but you know what I'm getting at, hopefully.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So I think because we don't really have a street scene, I think that we'll say that it's in keeping with the host property, the design and materials of the host property.
That is exactly what I.
And subject to the relevant mitigating measures for the trees.
Yeah, perfect.
Something along those lines, anyway.
much posher way of what I was trying to say. Okay, so with that additional wording, all in favour of the motion?
Yes, that's agreed.
Perfect. Okay, on to 5/2021 3315 at 24 Barlings Road. Your observations on this one, Heather?
Okay. Okay, it's 24 Barlings Road. The proposal looks to demolish the rear conservatory and replace partially over the footprint and along the side with a single story extension and the addition of a garage extension. Extension to the living space and an additional bedroom partially over the ground floor extension. A 1 metre gap along the boundary is being retained. The plot is of a good size to accommodate these additions, which are in keeping with the style and character of the host dwelling. A new crossover is also proposed to enable access to the new garage. Ample parking provision on the frontage. 1 tree is to be removed from the frontage with 2 replacement trees proposed. Consider no objection. So you can see here we've got the proposed and existing. So essentially it's this section here to the left hand side which is being added to the existing property, which you can see really is just along this section here. And then it's depicted here in the block plan along the side. And then we've got the additional crossover here so that we've got like a carriage sweeping drive so that they can access the new garage element of the property just here. That's it.
Thank you, Heather. Any comments on this one? I can't see any. In that case, we mind to go with the recommendation as set out. All in favour?
Yes, that's agreed.
Perfect. On to, not a very long trip, on to 5/20/21 3412 at 43 Barlings Road.
Not very easy navigating around Barlings Road though. It's not the easiest, I must admit. So might not be a long trip, but not an easy one.
Not if you don't know your way round
No.
it.
Oh. Okay, 43 Barlings Road. Permission has already been granted for a more substantial scheme than is being proposed here. The raising of the roof height is lower, meaning so there's the removal of the front dormer windows and the extensions to the footprint are more modest. This proposal looks to make the internal configuration more open, conversion of the garage to a storeroom and a small ground floor extension to the rear, and there is no longer accommodation in the roof space. A flower bed to the frontage is to be removed to provide additional off-street parking due to the loss of the garage. A new timber summer house, which is 9.2 metres by 3.5 metres by 3.2 metres in height, is proposed on the site of the existing wooden shed, which is 2.5 metres by 2 by 2 metres high at the end of the garden. Nearest properties are a good distance away and appear to not be affected by this addition. Okay, we've got the bungalow style existing property here. And then we've got the existing and the proposed elevations. So we've got the existing on the left and the proposed is over on the right. So you can see here that there's not a particularly dramatic increase in the roof height. And then we've got the existing ground floor plan and the proposed. So ultimately, really what they're looking to do is to extend along this section just here. And then we've got the outbuilding at the bottom of the garden, just here, over the footprint of the existing wooden shed. But there's, yeah, I mean, there's quite a large, this is the summer house, proposed summer house. And I think that's it, but there's lots and lots of space, lots of garden open space in this area of Barlings Road. So
just to clarify, that shaded sort of area at the back,
yeah.
Between the house and the shed, is that a patio of some kind?
But this here?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I just wanted to check.
It's kind of they're raised flower beds.
That's fine. It just looked a bit like it could be a walkway with a roof on it of some kind, and I just thought
no, they're like raised, they're like sort of raised planters.
Perfect. Any comments from councillors on this one? I can't see any. Anyone I've missed? No.
No, not that I can see.
In that case, we mind to go with the recommendation as set out. All in favour?
Yes, that's agreed.
Okay, 5/20/21 3434 does not meet the criteria. So on to 5/20/21 3308 at 25 Salisbury Avenue. Your observations on this one, Heather?
Okay. So if you recall, we have actually visited this site not so long ago, I don't believe, for the previous application that was given permission by the district council. So they're now coming back with some sort of fresh proposals. In addition to the smaller single-storey extensions, the proposal seeks to make significant increase at first floor level and therefore to the look, bulk and appearance of the property on this open fronted corner plot. The roof height is increasing by approximately 1/2 metre and changing in form from all angles with the addition of a first floor over the existing flat roof front ground floor element. The biggest visual change being to the side with Townsend Lane. Number 25 Townsend Lane has approved plans for a more substantial property than depicted in the presentation photo. So if I just move forward to the, yeah, so what's it? Yeah, so actually I haven't actually shown, I might have to take you there. I haven't got the image just there. I thought I'd included the number 25 Townsend Lane. The area is made up of a mixture of styles and size properties, all adding to the uniqueness of the area. No rooms are proposed in the roof, just Velux windows to create light on the first floor. The garage is lost, but 3 parking spaces to the frontage are retained. Total of 5 bedrooms on the site. A number of trees are proposed for removal with no details of replacements, only hedging. Site is in the conservation area. And I say consider express concern the proposed extensions to the property in this prominent open fronted location are overbearing and dominant, leading to an unbalanced look to the street scene, which forms part of the Harmondon Conservation Area. Concern is also expressed over the loss of trees with no replacements proposed, and then quoting the various policies there. So you can see that it's quite a an open fronted, very I suppose yeah, apart from being like an open fronted, it's kind of sort of quite a dominant location, being on this crossroads in Salisbury Avenue and Townsend Lane. You can see here that we've got the existing and proposed side elevation viewed from Townsend Lane. So we've got this flat roof, very sort of open look at the moment, and changing to a much more substantial looking property with a much taller roof form. And then we've got this here, which is the existing and proposed view from Salisbury Avenue. So as you're looking at it from this view here, will be changing to become this view here. So a much more sort of substantial blocky appearance. This block plan here shows the hatched area of where the extensions are due to be, with the changes to the hedging along the Townsend Lane side, with a new pedestrian access and the removal of a number of trees. This is the approved scheme at 25 Townsend Lane. So it's a very similar style property, but still, whether or not you sort of deem that as being a mitigating factor is debatable. So let me take you to show you the site.
We can still see the PowerPoint, Heather. I suspect.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. I was just going to get myself. Let me just get myself to where we actually want to be. So
that's fine. I could just see your mouse moving, and I suspected
yeah,
you were looking at a different screen to us.
I was, but let me try. Here we go. So I needed to close that window down to be able to open this new window here. So
I hate Microsoft Teams.
There's so much. There's so many images that I have to have up on the screen. So here we've got the open fronted look, and this is what the existing property at the rear looks like. So kind of very similar, much more sort of modest style dwelling. And then this is what they've got permission for now. God, apologies. Sorry, this is quite heavy weather doing all this. Okay, and then this is the approved scheme that is in construction at the moment or due to be constructed on Townsend Lane. There we go.
Thank you, Heather. Any comments from councillors on this one? I suspect there will be. Councillor Drake.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, my first reaction, as you know, is about the trees. They haven't provided an additional plan for the replacement of the trees, and this committee has in the past refused on that basis. It does appear to have been incomplete application. I don't know what the LPA's view will be. Well, I do know what it'll be. But I think it's very important as guardians of the neighbourhood plan that we do make a point that people should submit complete applications as far as the trees are concerned. I would also express concerns that the building does look particularly bulky and there is a risk of massing on the site, particularly being on a corner.
Thank you, Councillor Drake. Councillor Turnbull.
Thanks, Chair. Let's be honest about it. The present building is a pretty horrible building to look at. I mean, it really is. And if you see what has been, what is now almost complete up in Townsend Lane, in fact, the picture that Heather showed is not quite complete because the building above the one that number 25 has also been re-modernized and expanded. And you see how much has been crammed onto that part of Townsend Lane. My reaction is what is being proposed for this site now is actually almost modest in comparison. Whether it's the right thing or not is another matter. Because again, if you look at the very roughly look at the distance the house or the proposed house is going to be from the Townsend, from Salisbury Avenue frontage, it's probably no less than many of the houses on Salisbury Avenue are. If you go back up to the top where we used to live, the houses are all pretty close to the road. So in some ways, the building line is almost probably about the same level from the road. So other than the tree issue, I am slightly sympathetic to getting something a bit more pleasing to the eye than what is there at the moment.
Thank you, Councillor Turnbull. Any other comments from councillors on this one? I can't see any. What I would say on this, I think Councillor Drake makes the point about the trees very well. I'd also be quite concerned, given the fact that this is on a hill, about that bulk coming out further. I fully acknowledge Councillor Turnbull's point. It is not exactly an architectural gem that is it's there at the moment, but I would be a little bit worried about the effect on the street scene of, as says in the recommendation, something that's going to be quite a dominant structure. Given the trees, I think, as Councillor Drake has pointed out, we have recommended refusal before. Personally, I'd be minded to go with concern purely on the basis that I think it will be difficult to replace any trees on that site, given the amount of greenery that's left. But I'm happy to be overruled. So I will start with a vote on the recommendation as is currently set out, and then if a majority overrule me, I'll go on from there. But recommendation of express concern on the basis set out. All in favour of that?
4. Oh, 5.
5. Well, that's a majority, so we'll go with that as a recommendation. Okay, on to 5/2021 3352. That's number 6 High Street, which is the Oakman Inns application. Your observations?
Okay, right. Here goes for this one. So bear with me a second. So I think what I'll do, I mean, as you can see here, I've done bullet points for the observations for this. So the proposal is for the standard change of use elements and internal alterations which are to be expected for this type of application. At ground floor level externally, there is very little change from the existing facades to the front and the rear. Materials materials and design are sympathetic and in keeping with the property, which is locally listed in the Hartmondon Conservation Area. Proposed includes roof extensions to the rear in the direction of Leighton Road and the erection of a second floor level of a lightweight, predominantly glazed pergola to the central flat roof with a retractable roof and sides, all of which are to be constructed in modern aluminium and similar materials. Proposed opening hours are 8 AM to 12 midnight Monday to Saturday and 8 AM to 11 PM on Sunday, with the option of the retractable roof and sides to the pergola being open from 8 AM to 10 PM daily. Approximately 250 patrons can be accommodated at any one time. And I've put here in brackets increase in potential car parking issues in the area. Good to see the occupation of a sizable vacant premises in the town centre. The site is located in a partially residential area with habitable accommodation above shops and houses located behind in Leighton Road and Leighton Green. Potential for loss of amenity on them from the open roofed sided second floor pergola. And I've said here noise, light and overlooking. Site does not have a dedicated delivery bay with multiple daily deliveries and collections predicted. Green roof proposed to the new flat roof element, the likes of which do not currently exist in the area. So I've said here, consider, recommend refusal. I mean, I think I probably won't read the rest of it. Let's have a little look at the drawings and the other supporting documents that I've got here. So this is the internal ground floor proposal, which I think different than amongst the rest of the town, really, a normal restaurant type environment. But I would like to draw your attention to this second floor element here, which currently doesn't actually exist. The only bit of second floor that does exist is this little element just here. So the rest of this is actually a new addition. So this bit here is it's kind of partially there, but they're extending out. And this bit here is the aluminium framed pergola, which you can see here, there's quite a lot of seating in that particular location there. Okay, this here shows quite usefully the existing and the proposed rooftop. So you can see that we've got this sort of kind of slight extension element already existing. And then we've got the proper, what I would class as a more permanent structure proposed here in the green, with the blue glazed element showing the aluminium framed pergola. This is the high street view of the elevation, which, as you can see, is very much in keeping with what we've currently got there. There's no material changes to the frontage, just obviously new facade and an update to the frontage and the doors. This here shows the side elevation, which quite clearly shows the new extensions to the side of the property, and the low level Leighton Road, kind of the funeral directors and Manor Pharmacy, and then the Leighton Green element of where the hairdressers or the estate agents are currently located. This here shows the rear elevation with the delivery or the sort of unloading bay at the back here. So this element looks very similar to what we've currently got. Then if I can draw your attention to this glass pergola on the roof just there, visible from Leighton Road. And then we've got this green roof that they're proposing to be added to the flat new element of the property. And then I've also, because I felt that they were really useful, I wanted to actually just draw your attention to the supporting visuals, which, bear me just a second, I'll just move myself to those. So these are the supporting visuals which help to show further kind of a proper artist impression of what it's proposed to look like. So once again, the frontage looks to be in keeping and acceptable, but if I can draw your attention here, so this second floor element is actually quite dominant and visual even from the high street. And then again here from Leighton Road, we've got this sort of the 2-storey element just here, and then this aluminium framed pergola, which potentially in the summer and better weather can have glass top and sides completely open. And then this is the view from on your entrance up towards Waitrose, and you can still see even from this elevation here that you can actually see it just there. And then once again here, viewing down from Amenbury Lane, you can see the open canopy of the roof. And also again here, which is viewed from Leighton Road, where the canopy roof is actually open, leaving it as a sort of kind of skeleton type structure. And that's it. But I just thought that they would be quite useful visuals for me to share with you. Okay.
Thank you, Heather. Councillor Drake.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I went to have a look at the presentation that they did in, I think it was in late November, early December, which the town clerk drew our attention to in the property. And my reaction, having seen that, was that this was in fact quite an ambitious plan. I welcome the idea that someone's going to introduce a significant business to the high street. But given the sheer size of the venue, I do think it's actually very ambitious. But obviously, they've presumably done their own business planning on that. I am less concerned about the car parking issues, because if we're going to have businesses on the high street, we're going to have businesses on the high street. The delivery issue, though, I think is a real potential problem, because I drive along there to go to Waitrose, and the number of times you have to squeeze past people already delivering on Leighton Road is quite a common and difficult factor. Though again, if we're going to have businesses on the high street, then they're going to have deliveries. You can't really get around that. My other reaction is obviously to the roof line. I mean, from the front, I think it's absolutely fine. I'm slightly more relaxed on it from the view of Leighton Green at the back, but it's the side view from the high street will be the one where it becomes particularly dominant. And I do wonder if that would be something that they could revisit here, because that doesn't really fit or in keeping with the rest of the high street. So in summary, you know, I like the idea of a business coming on there. I think it's ambitious, but I think there are some other factors yet which would be right to express concern about.
Thank you, Councillor Drake. Councillor Farmer.
Thank you. I mean, I in fact, yes, welcome business going in there, of course, but it is ambitious, and I do have, well, considerable concerns running in my case to feeling that as it stands, it should be refused, and relating to the basically to the pergola on the first floor level. I mean, if you look down the side and you look at the picture and indeed the materials used, it is totally out of keeping with the appearance of the conservation area. I mean, it just bears no relationship with it whatsoever. But there is also, I think, a real issue with loss of amenity to the residential properties, particularly those at the back on Leighton Green, both in terms of potential noise in the summer if they open it up, but I think more pertinently, at any time of the year, I think there's a question of light pollution. And I, on those bases, would refuse until I think more could be done to make it acceptable, because I don't think as it stands it is.
Thank you, Councillor Farmer. Councillor Turnbull.
Thanks, Chair. I also welcome any operation that's going to occupy a unit as big as this. Frankly, that's a big unit. There are not many organisations or retailer or organisation that want to take a unit that size. I happen to know of the group. So one or two of you may have said they must have ambitious plans. I know what they've done elsewhere fairly successfully, so I can but assume they've done their numbers, etc., etc. But from that point of view, I'd welcome this new operator. I think delivery and parking, my reaction, sure, there may be problems, but I don't see how you can stop a development just because of that, because you could apply these 2 tests to any other trade or business on the high street, etc. So, and then when it comes to parking for the users, then obviously there's Inverbury Lane car park, particularly in the evening. The roof, I'm more sympathetic to the roof, I must admit. On the other hand, I do realise from a planning point of view, people may not like it. So I'd be in favour of it if they could do a little bit more to tone down the roof element, the 3rd floor element, the 2nd floor element. And as far as they mention opening hours, I mean, that's obviously not a matter for us, that's a matter for the licensing authorities, I presume.
Thank you, Councillor Turnbull. Councillor Hill.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I thought actually Councillor Farmer summed up a lot of the points that I was going to make very well. I agree on the pergola. I think that's not suitable for the conservation area, really. I also agree with other councillors what they've said about parking. I'm less concerned with parking here, just because it is. I mean, it's a very ambitious proposal, as we know. Lots of it's very big and lots of seats. But I think we'd hope that you'd use the Inverbury Lane car park or train or whatever, or be local to Harpen and people using it. Deliveries, I think again, I'm probably a bit more relaxed about that. I know I think the George have a delivery at the back, so I suspect from Leighton Road, so I suspect that could be done. But I think the pergola can't really. I mean, it's a nice proposal, because I can imagine myself. I can imagine myself going up there and using it. But I think from a planning point of view, I don't think that's acceptable for the conservation area.
Thank you, Councillor Hill. Any other councillors want to comment on this one? I can't see any. I mean, my personal take on it is I think I've got no issue with the parking and the deliveries. It's as councillors have said, if you're going to have restaurants and you're going to have a thriving high street, then you have to accept that sometimes people want to drive there. I think the green roof, I know we don't have one already, but I've got no issue with that. I think actually we should be encouraging that sort of thing. So I would have no issue with that. I think the side view of that 2nd floor element does concern me, because it is quite boxy, that side bit, I thought. And the pergola is clearly far too dominant over that rear Leighton Green view. And I don't think that as it currently is, it's workable. So I think broadly, I agree with comments that have already been made by councillors. I think, unfortunately, we will have to go with, assuming majority agree, a recommendation of refusal. But I do think that we should possibly note in our recommendation that we welcome, applications to bring business to an important town centre location, and we're not, against them doing it. We're just against this particular proposal, if that makes sense. So some language on while we welcome, the usual thing that we use. I can't.
Yeah, that's fine.
Councillor Farmer, you've put your hand up.
Yes, if I may, Chair, I was going to suggest, sort of further to what you've said, we perhaps should also make it clear that we're not against the entire proposal. I think we mean to make it very clear that it's the element, particularly of the view down the side, out of keeping with the conservation area, and the pergola, both from being out of keeping, but I think just as pertinently as adversely affecting the amenity of the residential properties.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we look at the wording that I had put together and amend it accordingly? So I've said here, recommend refusal. The proposed 2nd floor extensions are an unwelcome and out of keeping addition to this locally listed building in the Harpenden Conservation Area. Are we happy with that so far? In terms of the proposed materials, potential to cause loss of amenity on the area from noise nuisance from its usage, visual intrusion from light emission, and potential for overlooking into neighbouring properties due to its positioning on the host property at 2nd floor level. Are we happy with that wording up to that point?
Yes. The only thing I would say is I'd add at the very start of the recommendation, I'd add the language about while we welcome
Yeah, that's fine. I'll construct that accordingly. So I've got sort of welcoming business, welcoming a business is important at high street location, and then also mention that we're encouraged by the ground and first floor proposals. However, we recommend refusal, and then moving on to the wording.
And if I may say so, I think we should make it clear that in part of that is an adverse effect on residential properties. I think it's important it's made clear that there are residential properties will be affected.
Right, okay. Okay, so I can add in the word into neighbouring residential properties due to its positioning, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, we're not that concerned about overlooking into commercial properties, I wouldn't have thought.
Well, no, because it's unlikely that they will be there, late at night and into the evening, are they really? But then I don't think you're going to want to have the rest of the wording here that relates to the parking in the local area, and also over the highway conflict from regular delivery lorries.
Yes.
So we'll remove the rest of it. And then what I'll do is I'll adjust the policies that are relevant only to the elements that we're mentioning, and take out the ones that relate to highways and the parking and the highways.
Thank you, Heather. Councillor Turnbull, did you have something you want to add?
Thanks. I was just going to ask, are we against any redevelopment of the second floor at all? Or is it merely what they've proposed?
Personally, I think if you could do it in a way that was sympathetic to the area, I have no objection to.
Therefore, I'm not very certain what our wording was to start off the comments. Was the wording we thought the second floor extension was unwelcome, or merely their proposal was unwelcome?
The proposed second floor extensions.
Yeah.
Okay, as long as we make clear, we would have something if it was.
Yeah.
Because I say I'm slightly more. I accept there's a problem with neighbours and all the rest, but I'm slightly more amenable to perhaps half the green roofed area being used.
Yeah, I think if they could do that in a way that was slightly more on its side view, slightly less bulky, I'd be amenable to that as well.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
To be honest, if they came back with a proposal for something very similar, but it was brick built with solid windows, that might change our view completely. It's the fact that we've got a structure which can potentially be open to the world and his wife for many, many hours in a day. I think that's really where we've got the issue. And we mentioned about the in terms of materials as well. So I think it's the use of the aluminium on it, I think, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Are we all happy with the motion as set out? All in favour of that recommendation?
Yes, that's all agreed.
Perfect. Okay. 5/2021 3427 doesn't meet the criteria. So on to 5/2021 3520 at 18 Station Road. Your observations on this one, Heather?
Bear with me a second.
Right, 18 Stewart Road, not 18 Station Road. At the moment, though.
Okay, so 18 Stewart Road. The property is set back a long way from the main street scene with a spacious garden and picket fence parking area to the front. Proposal looks to incorporate the existing porch element and extend the side into an existing footprint gap at ground floor level to create a new entrance hall and expand the ground floor living space. At first floor level, it is proposed to extend forwards over the existing and new ground floor elements to create an additional bedroom, which will total 4. A small extension is also proposed to the rear to extend the habitable accommodation to ground floor and create an ensuite at the first floor level. The footprint of number 16A Stewart Road is set further forward from the host property, therefore reducing any impact on them. Parking provision for 3 cars off street. No tree works are proposed. Consider no objection. So you can see here that we've got ample parking space there for sort of really 3 cars. And you can see here the site location plan where number 16A is set quite a distance further forward, and 18A is a sort of rather strange L-shaped long property. This here is the existing and the proposed front. So the existing front is at the top, and then what is proposed is further down. So you can see that they're looking to extend out this little element here, sort of filling in. There's like a gap at the front here. If I just move back, you can see that there is actually this gap here that they're wanting to fill in, which is essentially this element here. Then at the rear of the property, you've got the existing at the top, and then the proposed is just down here, where is just a single simple two-storey extension to the rear, which is going to create further accommodation downstairs and a small ensuite upstairs. This here shows the existing and the proposed ground floor. So we've got, as I mentioned here, the little fill in at the front, and then a slight extension on to create a larger porch area. And then here at the first floor level, we've got the existing at the top, and then the proposed down here. So we've got a little small extension here, which will create the ensuite. And then at the front here, they're building over the new ground floor front elevation. That's it.
Thank you, Heather. Any councillor comments on this one? I can't see any. Oh, Councillor Hill.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just very quickly. I know the road quite well. I used to walk to school past it. I actually like the fact it's not coming to, it's only sort of filling in that sort of front gap. Because when I first saw this house, I thought, oh no, they're going to knock it down and move it forward. I've always liked that it's a bit further set back. You've got nice trees and nice landscaping. So yeah, I welcome it's quite a modest development because it's one of my favourite houses in Alpinen.
I must say, I do need to have a look at that L-shaped one next to it at some point, because I was not aware of that property. Anyway, any other comments from councillors on this one? I can't see any. Are we minded to go with the recommendation as set out? All in favour?
Yes, agreed.
Perfect. On to 5/2021. 3516 at 40 Springfield Crescent. Your observations on this one, Heather?
Okay. Okay, so 40 Springfield Crescent. Property is on the end of the road with a long fence line along the side and space to accommodate the proposed two-storey side extension, which is stepped in at first floor level. Proposal appears in keeping with the style of the host property, and there is no impact on the neighbouring properties. Total of 5 bedrooms, 3 off-street parking spaces provided, no tree works. No objection is my recommendation. You can see just here that we've got the existing, if I can get my thing to work. So this is the existing property here with the 3 parking spaces already clearly marked out here. And then they're looking to extend to the side just here, filling in sort of this area here to the side of the property, which I can just show you here. There's ample room to accommodate that. And then on the first floor level here, you can see that there's just the simple extension to the side along the same building line as the existing property on the site. Here we go. So here's the elevations. This is the existing, and then this is the proposed front elevations. I think that's it.
Thank you, Heather. Any comments on this one? I can't see any. Are we minded to go the recommendation as set out? All in favour?
Yes, that's agreed.
Okay, on to 5/2021 3460 doesn't meet the criteria. So on to 5/2021 3514 at 5 Haslingden Close. Your observations on this one, Heather?
Okay, coming up. Okay, so 5 Haslingden Close is the one with the little red cross just there. Proposal looks to extend rearwards at 2-storey level for half the width of the property to create additional living space at the ground floor level and expand the size of the bedrooms at the first floor level. An extension of similar width at first floor level above the existing ground floor element to extend the bedroom sizes. Properties in the streets are staggered, therefore reducing any possible impact on the neighbouring properties. The neighbouring property, as depicted in the presentation photos, has extended forwards also, as you can see actually with the skip on the drive here. Garage is retained along with parking for 2 cars off street. Consider no objection. So here you can see that there's the staggered nature of the properties in the streets, with the roof forms at the front and the back. And that's basically it. Supposed to not include any of the streets, any of the drawings for this particular one.
Thank you, Heather. Any comments from councillors on this one? Everyone is quite small in my screen at the moment. There we go. Any comments from councillors? I can't see any. In that case, are we mind to go the recommendation as set out? All in favour?
Okay, yep, that's agreed.
5, 20, 21, 3, 4, 8, 7 doesn't meet the criteria. On to 5, 20, 21, 3, 5, 1, 1 at 18 Prospect Lane. Your observations on this one, Heather?
Okay. Okay, so 18 Prospect Lane. Proposal looks to demolish the existing standard style bungalow dwelling with a more contemporary style flat roofed single story dwelling. The dwelling sits on the same footprint as the original, but with the addition of an extension to the side towards the detached garage, which is retained, and the addition of 2 new elements to the opposite end, which project 4 metres forward and 7.4 metres rearwards from the existing building line. Materials proposed are a mix of brick and black stained timber cladding. So I'll just move to that there. Plots in the street are spacious with good distance between the site and the neighbouring properties. The road is made up of a selection of size and style properties. Ample parking for the 4 bedrooms proposed, not conservation area. So you can see here that the image from a drone that they included as part of the application. The property to the left is a substantial dwelling next to this one, and then also to the right is a standard 2-storey house, but is obviously much larger than the proposal on this particular site here. So we've got being a bungalow, there's all of it is just visible here. So you've got the existing at the top and then the proposed at the bottom. It's quite faded, but unfortunately that's what the drawings were that they submitted. So we've got this additional element that's just going along here to the side on the right hand side, and then we're extending at the back here and at the front just here. And then we've got this more contemporary style with the wooden cladding design, and that is it.
Thank you, Heather. I mean, they're getting a lot of property on that plot. Councillor Farmer.
Thank you. And it may be personal taste. I have to say, again, I'm rather concerned about the flat roof, apparently the contemporary style, but I don't think it's at all in keeping with the location again. And frankly, I think it looks more like a warehouse than a residential dwelling.
Thank you, Councillor Farmer. Any other comments from councillors on this one? Councillor Hill.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think with the flat roof, I'm less concerned given it's not conservation area. If it had been conservation area, I might have been more concerned. But actually, maybe I quite like the contemporary style, but maybe I've just watched too much Grand Designers.
I rather agree.
That you're a lot younger than I am.
I rather agree with Councillor Hill on the style. I looked at it and thought it looked quite nice. There is, as I say, the only thing I'm a little bit concerned by is there is a lot of house going on what is quite a small plot, but I think it's just about small enough that it gets away with it. And it's a bungalow, and we want to encourage people to build bungalows, so I have no objection to it personally. Any other comments from councillors, or should we move to a vote? I can't see any. All in favour of the recommendation?
Yes, that's agreed.
Perfect. 5, 2021, 3523 doesn't meet the criteria. So on to 5/2021 3497 the Croft, Longcroft Avenue. Your observations on this one, Heather?
Okay. So actually, I didn't have any images for this one because I don't think that it was necessary. What I can see here, so permission has already been granted for a very similar scheme to which is proposed in this application. The visible changes to the already approved scheme are changes to the door style from recreation room to the patio, addition of a couple more Velux windows, extension to bedroom 2 and bathroom extended further back to be closer in line with the depth of bedroom number 1, and the crown roof element is changing in shape due to the extension detailed above. The Town Council, in support of the previously approved scheme, consider no objection.
Thank you, Heather. Any comments from councillors on this one? I can't see any. Are we all minded to go with the recommendation as set out? All in favour?
Yes, agreed.
Okay, on to 5/2021 3503, the old apiary site, Hatching Green. Your observations on this one, Heather?
Okay. Okay, so the old apiary site. Just move to the relevant page. Proposal is for the erection of 7 detached 2-bedroom single-storey dwellings on the site of the disused and derelict apiary site on Rothamsted Research Land, close to Hatching Green. Precedence has already been set with modern development taking place opposite the proposal site, the design and materials of which is mirrored in this proposal. Site is in the Harpenden Conservation Area. To the east of the site stands the Grade 2 listed thatched cottages in Hatching Green, which are 2-storey in height. A wildlife area and wide green open spaces to remain on the boundary with these properties to reduce any impact on these properties from the proposal and on the future occupiers of the new dwellings from those in Hatching Green. Site remains screened by the existing perimeter boundary hedging and trees with very little visible from the external street scene. The ridge height of all dwellings is approximately 5.5 metres with the roofscapes of a similar design. All dwellings are of a similar design with subtle differences to create variety. Each plot has ample amenity space and 2 allocated parking spaces on the plot frontage. The size of these properties is welcomed into Harpender's housing stock. The ecology report states that the site is of a limited ecological value with no protected species evident. 12 trees are to be removed for developmental and arboricultural reasons. These are predominantly of low value, self-set and of poor quality due to the site not being maintained. No details of further tree planting on the site have been included, just landscaping for each plot and infill into the existing boundary line planting. And I say consider no objections subject to the appropriate design and use of materials in the Harpenden Conservation Area, Policy 85 for District Planned Affairs. So here you can see the rather substantial site here. So we've got the lovely Grade 2 listed Hatching Green thatched cottages here. The old apiary site is basically here, and the rest of it here has just become overgrown with self-set trees from essentially the site being left and being derelict, really. And then here you can see the plots scattered or positioned amongst the site, with a large wildlife area and sort of kind of grassed area being retained over here on the right hand side. So the Hatching Green thatched cottages, which are just positioned here, will be essentially shielded from these new proposals. These here are the example elevations. I haven't shown you every single one, but essentially they all mirror this, but with very subtle differences. This is the plan of the layout of the property. So quite a modest 2-bedroom but amply sized bungalow, which I think, as I mentioned here, is welcomed into our housing stock, which has been picked up actually in the Harpenden Neighbourhood Plan, which is an additional policy that I can reference in our recommendation. And that's it.
Thank you, Heather. Any comments from councillors on this one? Councillor Drake.
Thank you. Yes, I would generally welcome this proposal. The site is a derelict and an eyesore as you come past it if you're walking up from the Rothamsted direction. I like the idea that there are 7 bungalows being added into Harpenden, and I think the site has been fairly tastefully done with the retention of the wildfire area, and that offsets my usual disappointment that there hasn't been replanting of the trees. But it does appear to me there has been some cognizance taken of the environmental issues here, and in general, therefore, I think it's something that should be supported.
Thank you, Councillor Drake. Any other comments from councillors on this one? Councillor Liver.
Thank you. I mean, I agree about the bungalows. Bungalows generally get knocked down and made into houses. I suppose my issue is really with the side area, which I mean, I assume the developer will develop that spot as well. I'm not a betting person, but I guess that will happen quite soon afterwards, which then leads to potentially 9 properties with cars coming out of quite a difficult area. That would be my main concern about it.
Thank you, Councillor Liver. Councillor Turnbull.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, we turned this down before, didn't we, in the base that was Greenbelt?
I think we turned it down before on the basis that they were trying to put a palace on it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Was there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all in favour of something happening here. My concern is that we as a council are getting nothing out of it. And maybe I'm clutching at straws, but there's no way we can demand any compensation for giving permission here, is there? Or insistence on social housing element.
It's not big enough for social housing. I think it's 12, isn't it? That has
14.
to 14.
14.
I know. Can we impose any restrictions on they can't get subsequent permission for 2-storey? Or for anything on the bit of ground they're going to sort of treat as a wildlife area? Can we impose any restrictions?
I mean, to be honest, if they did come back with a proposal to develop that area there, I would be very surprised that they would get planning permission for it. I think that wildlife area has been included there probably at the guidance and instruction from planning officers of St Albans following a meeting. You know, this is not something that we generally would see.
Yeah.
Is it? You know, that's my gut feeling, and my feelings that they've gone for bungalows because that's probably what has been deemed acceptable on this particular site.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would reluctantly go along with it, but you know my views. I think we should be getting something out of it, particularly if it's Greenbelt. I know the rules don't allow it, but I don't see why we can't make the developers pay up.
Grounds to do so.
Yes, no, I think in a perfect world. Councillor Hill, was that a hand?
Yeah, there was. Yeah. I mean, I like it because, like we say, it's bungalows. We want bungalows. It looks quite modest. If anything, I mean, maybe contrary to what Heather just said. I mean, I might be being a bit controversial here, but I mean, I like the wildlife there. I'll make that clear. But actually, if you're going to give up Greenbelt land, you'd want to use the land efficiently. And I would see, I might almost wouldn't have been that fussed if it had been maybe 2-3 more on the other side. So if it that's maybe just me being controversial. But yeah, I quite like the bungalows. It is better than the palace. I think last time for some reason I supported it just because as Councillor Drake said, at the minute it is a derelict land. It's not used. It's got no ecological value. So I welcome this.
Thank you, Councillor Hill. I think my comment, the only comment I would make, and I'm sorry if I'm preempting any councillors who haven't spoken yet, but my only comment would be the fact that they have got such a large area of field next to it, and they've not replaced the trees, I would welcome it if they are watching our recording. I would welcome it if they could add some more trees into that area, because I see no reason why that wouldn't add to the ecological value of the site. But I think, given the restrictions of the site, I think they've done a fairly good job. And I think we should welcome the fact that this is, you know, as has been said, 7 new bungalows going in. Yeah, I mean, it seems it could have been a lot worse. Any other comments from councillors on this one? I can't see any. In that case, are we minded to go with the recommendation? All in favour?
Yes, that's agreed.
Perfect. On to 5/2021 3. Am I on the right one? 3517.
Yeah.
Doesn't meet the criteria required. So on to 5/2021 3518 16 Barnesdean.
Okay. Last one. Okay, so 16 Barnesdean. The proposal is to extend rearwards at ground floor level to enlarge the living accommodation and at first floor level over the footprint of the existing garage and side store. The extensions at first floor level are stepped in from the side boundaries to reduce any impact on the neighbouring properties. 1 additional bedroom is added to be 5 in total. Garage is being retained with a further 3 parking spaces to the frontage. Design is similar to existing dwelling and other properties in the street, not conservation area, no tree work, consider no objection. So you can see here that the existing property, we've got ample parking space already on the frontage, as well as the garage that's being retained. So we've got the existing front elevation there and the proposed. So you can see that we're adding a little bit of additional bit here at the side at first floor level, and also changes to the internal elevations just here. And then we are extending over the existing garage space, but retaining a metre gap along the boundary line. And then you can see here that this is the existing footprint of the ground floor, and then this is the proposed footprint. So we've got a change to the store, which is going along this right-hand side here. And then we're filling in just here at the back in this sort of kind of section just here, extending out a little bit further than the existing. And then this is the rear elevations. We've got the existing and then the proposed. So we've got changes to the openings to become sort of much more open plan, and that is it.
Sorry, I got stuck on mute then. Thank you, Heather. Any comments from councillors on this one? I can't see any. In that case, we mind to go with the recommendation as set out. All in favour?
Yes, that's agreed.
Okay, we've done item 7. I just need to remind myself what item 8 is.
We have, yeah, appeals now.
Appeals. We have had appeals. We've had an appeal decision at unit. Sorry, my agenda's having a moment. Give me 2 seconds. I think my Wi-Fi is a bit patchy. We have appeal at unit 6, number 40, Cold Harbour Lane has been dismissed.
Yet again. Would I like
believe,
to add there, please?
I believe that was the shipping container, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, this is for door to door.
Yes.
Yeah,
Councillor Farmer.
I just wanted to comment. Yes, the shipping container. It seems to have been pinging around for a long time. Could I just ask that, since the appeal has been dismissed and it's sitting on site, that we make sure it is removed and they don't just gaily leave it sitting there hoping nobody notices?
I think that's one for enforcement, isn't it? So we
It is, but I think sometimes make sure enforcement enforces if necessary.
Would you like me, Rosemary, to send an email to planning enforcement and ask what their proposal, their proposed measures are to remove this?
I suggest it might be useful. Otherwise, we could find it you know, they could leave it sitting there for ages and then say, oh, well, nobody's done anything about it. So by default.
I'll email them and I'll copy you all in.
Thank you, Heather.
And then-
The second appeal was also dismissed. That was 25 Park Mount. We had an appeal there recently as well. Maybe a different one I'm thinking of. But that's been dismissed. So, yes, 2 appeals, results back, both dismissed. Agenda item 9 is preservation ordered tree works, which is just for noting. So are the conservation area tree works and technical applications, and the list of weekly St Albans District Council decisions, which leaves only the date of the next meeting, which will be on Tuesday, the 1st of February 2022. I don't know how we've quite gotten to a meeting in February 2022, but there we are. Which will be at 7:30 p.m. Do we know yet if that's going to be in person or virtual?
Not at this stage, no. Essentially, really, we're sort of in the hands of Boris. If he suggests that we can potentially, you know, actually carry out more things face to face, then potentially yes, but at this stage, unlikely.
And the next Plans North meeting is on the 17th of January at 7 p.m, presumably still in person. Councillor Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you go back to page 41?
Yes.
That's that new telecom mast at the bottom of Hollybush Lane. One of the WhatsApp group neighbours down there said she's seen nothing about us sending off any. We did a recommendation to refuse. We did, didn't we, Heather?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So this one, though, so we sent this directly off to the agents, to the actual kind of, or the consultants, sorry, to the consultants. Yeah, absolutely. I did it almost the following day.
Yeah, the WhatsApp group's got something all about that sort of thing, and I thought, well, we must have done that. Yeah, okay.
No, for sure. Yeah, that I think I did it the following day to ensure, because we were getting a bit close to the deadline. So I did it the following morning, and I copied in all 35 residents that had objected. So they all received a copy of what we said.
I did check today, or yesterday. We haven't called it in, because if we called it in, it would exceed a number of days for them determining without our consent.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
It's not going to come to committee. It's obviously, it would have. We found off the days. I forget what the number of days are, 56 or something, you know. If you don't know, and to get it to committee would have taken longer.
Right.
They would have got what they wanted. This way, it's down the officers refusing, which is the best thing.
Better, yeah.
Yeah, okay. The main thing was we sent something off. Yeah, okay.
Heather, just in connection with that, can we make sure that district have had sight of whatever we sent to the planning authority?
I will double check, but I'm fairly sure that it was actually sent off, but I will double check. I mean, I can respond in relation to this technical application list anyway, can't I?
Yeah.
We district planning making the, you know, decision, which I know what they're going to say. They're going to say refusal, obviously, but then of course it will go to appeal, and we'll probably get it on appeal, but then we've done all we can, can't do any more. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Before I bring the meeting to a close, has anyone spotted anything else that they'd like to raise on any of the ones for noting? I can't see anything. In that case, I'll bring the meeting to a close at 9:28 p.m. Have a good evening, everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for
your
hearing.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Thanks, Heather.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, not a problem.
Lost my mouse again.
Off.